Chapter 886, Zhao Feng's Card. The golden-purple whirlpool in the air above the Duke's palace released a brilliant light that shone across heaven and earth. This aura that had almost reached the mystic light realm crushed over everything around the Duke's palace, and the experts within the palace were unable to move their true yuan. This power didn't just pressure the physical dimension, even souls and intents were pressured. In this situation, only a small number of Void God Realm kings and emperors could barely manage to control their power. Looks like Duke Ninfeng's breakthrough to the mystic light realm is going smoothly. Zhao Feng walked out of his building. He wanted to see and comprehend what breaking through to the mystic light realm felt like. It wasn't just Zhao Feng that had thoughts like this, there were also some other forces within the palace that were the same. The current situation was an extremely rare opportunity. At this moment, the other three emperors within the Duke's palace walked out. The cloud silkworm Saint Butterfly's origin pollen sure helped Duke Ninfeng a lot. If Duke Ninfeng becomes a sacred lord, he will be able to affect the Great Gan Lord dynasty greatly. The three emperors consisted of 2 males and 1 female, and they all had smiles on their faces. Amongst them was a silver-haired elder whose aura surpassed normal emperors. He was a peak emperor. Duke Ninfeng had introduced these 3 emperors to Zhao Feng before he entered seclusion, but these 3 emperors didn't place much importance on someone who just broke through to the Void God realm. What aura is that? The silver-haired elder suddenly sensed something and looked toward a certain direction. Zhao Feng also felt the aura at the same time. Zhao Feng suddenly felt 4 or 5 stealthy auras approaching. Although these auras were purposely trying to conceal themselves, they were too strong and moving too quickly, so they couldn't hide it completely. The important thing here was that Duke Ninfeng was at the critical stage of breaking through. Su. A total of 5 powerful and stealthy auras had entered the Duke's palace. Zhao Feng's and the silver-haired elder's expressions changed dramatically as they scanned over with their divine sense. 5 emperors. And all of them seemed to be peak emperors. The silver-haired elder's body shook. Zhao Feng's left pupil contracted as he inspected the appearances and auras of these 4 males and 1 female. 5 peak emperors. Zhao Feng also jumped up in fright. It was hard for normal 3-star powers to send out such a force at once. Lord Protector, we've locked onto where Zhao Feng is in seclusion, the dark green-robed female said respectfully. Zhao Feng, oh Zhao Feng, you will not be able to escape today. Bai Kuang Yue sighed in her heart as her powerful divine sense scanned over the Duke's palace and locked onto Zhao Feng's location. When they were making their plans, she already knew where everything was located in the Duke's palace and where Zhao Feng was staying. It was because of this that the 5 peak emperors were able to quickly lock onto Zhao Feng after entering the Duke's palace. Kill that brat. Demonic Emperor Shwen Luo's voice seemed to come from hell. The powerful auras of 5 peak emperors were instantly unleashed as they charged toward the building where Zhao Feng was staying. Although the Duke's palace was big, it was just a bit more than a dozen strides for a peak emperor if they went at their full speed. Zhao Feng had no place to hide. Block them. The 3 Void God Realm emperors within the Duke's palace roared. The silver-haired elder was the first to react as he led the other male and the female to support Zhao Feng. Duke Ninfeng had introduced Zhao Feng to them, and now that Zhao Feng was in trouble, they wouldn't just not help. Enemy attack. On guard. Protect my lord and kill all the enemies. The kings within the Duke's palace started to move. Luckily for them, the 5 peak emperors weren't attacking Duke Ninfeng but one of his guests instead. Apart from Duke Ninfeng and the princess, kill anyone that tries to stop us, demonic Emperor Shwen Luo ordered coldly. As long as they didn't harm the important members of the Great Gan Imperials and only killed Zhao Feng, they wouldn't touch the Imperials' bottom line. As the 5 were about to surround Zhao Feng. Get back here. The silver-haired elder and the other 2 emperors arrived. They didn't need to win against 5 peak emperors, all they needed to do was create a gap that Zhao Feng could use to escape. If Zhao Feng focused on running away, the other 5 peak emperors wouldn't be able to catch up to him. Don't give Zhao Feng any chance to escape. Bai Kuang Yue's eyebrows furrowed. She knew all the information about Zhao Feng. The reason why Zhao Feng was able to massacre the Void God realms from Earth's spirit hell was because of his speed and his eye bloodline. To kill Zhao Feng, they needed to surround him and not give him any chance to escape. To do this, at least 4 peak emperors were necessary. Let me do it. Demonic Emperor Shwen Luo's expression became grim as he looked coldly at the silver-haired elder and the other 2 emperors. Scorching demon spirit body. In an instant, demonic Emperor Shwen Luo became covered in a layer of black flame as he started to expand. He turned into a flaming demonic sovereign that radiated a powerful force. Wu tilde boom. Half of the Duke's palace shook as it was covered by a dark demonic flame. This was still under the basis that Duke Nunfeng was at the final stages of breaking through, and the disturbance of his mystic light sacred power was suppressing demonic Emperor Shwen Luo's power. What? The expressions of the three newly arrived emperors changed dramatically as they started to shake in front of the demonic sovereign. They felt as if they were facing an ancient demonic beast. Fuck off. Demonic Emperor Shwen Luo, who had turned into a flaming demonic sovereign, smashed his hand out, and a giant flaming hand swept toward the three emperors. Golden Yuan Sky Essence. The silver-haired elder released a brilliant glow of gold light that shot into the sky. The other two emperors next to him also unleashed their attacks. However, the instant the giant flaming hand swept over, the two emperors almost coughed out blood as their faces became bright red. Crack. The golden light that shot out from the silver-haired elder was ripped into pieces and pushed back 100 yards. Arg. The female screamed as the giant demonic hand ripped her apart. Bam. The male emperor wasn't a peak emperor, so he was sent flying by the hand and immediately coughed out blood. In just an instant, one of the three emperors was killed, another was severely injured, and the last was slightly injured. S2. The expressions of all the other kings from the Duke's palace that were about to enter the fray changed dramatically, and they froze. As far as peak emperors went, the silver-haired elder was on par with the golden-robed Emperor Zhang Xuandong of Earth Spirit Hall that had appeared at the 10,000 Sacred Clan and was close to Duan Muqing when he was back at the true martial Sacred Land. Demonic Emperor Shwen Luo, it's you. The silver-haired elder wiped the blood from his mouth as shock filled his face. Just now, he used his full power, but it was useless against demonic Emperor Shwen Luo's scorching demon spirit body. Demonic Emperor Shwen Luo was indeed worthy of being an unparalleled emperor that had the ability to threaten mystic light realm sacred lords. 5 peak emperors, and one of them is even slightly stronger than the Emperor of Death back then. Zhao Feng was unable to contain the shock on his face as he stood outside the building. The strength of the silver-haired elder was close to his master Duan Muqing when they were back at the true martial Sacred Land. In terms of strength, demonic Emperor Shwen Luo might be able to suppress the Emperor of Death in a head-on collision, but if it was a life-and-death fight, it was impossible to predict the result. In single combat, the chance of Zhao Feng winning against the demonic Emperor Shwen Luo was quite low, and on top of him, there were 4 other peak emperors as well. This situation was quite dangerous. Su. While the demonic Emperor Shwen Luo attacked, the other 4 emperors successfully surrounded Zhao Feng. Zhao Feng, your partner Nan Gongshen killed the elites of 9 Darkness Palace and Xieyang Palace. Today, we shall hold you accountable. Let's see how strong the left-eyed heavenly emperor of the Kang Ocean is. Apart from Bai Kuang Yue, there was a purple-faced elder, a middle-aged male with a dark face, and the last was a youth in black armor. These 3 were all peak emperors of 9 Darkness Palace. Adding on Bai Kuang Yue, a total of 4 peak emperors were currently surrounding Zhao Feng. Take down this brat within 3 breaths. Demonic Emperor Shwen Luo quickly closed in. The silver-haired elder and the other emperors and kings in the Duke's palace had bitter expressions. The tide couldn't be turned, just the demonic Emperor Shwen Luo alone could kill them all. All they could do was sigh in their hearts as the peak emperors surrounded Zhao Feng. 3 breaths? Zhao Feng stood there and snickered coldly. Good. I'll make sure none of you return. The youth's cold, mocking laugh made Bai Kuang Yue and the other emperors feel cold. Bai Kuang Yue felt extremely uneasy for some reason. She had the information about Zhao Feng and knew some of the miracles this youth had produced within the divine illusion dimension. The silver-haired elder and company were all surprised as well. Any peak emperor would be unable to turn the tide in this situation, let alone a brand new king. Don't try to bluff us. Kill. The middle-aged male and the youth in armor leapt at Zhao Feng from the left and right. At the moment, I'm not personally the match for 4 peak emperors and 1 unparalleled emperor, but... Zhao Feng's expression was unusually calm. He reached out, and a jay-like chubby little silkworm the size of a thumb appeared, and it flapped its half-transparent wings. This was the cloud silkworm Saint Butterfly, which had recovered most of its energy. Wang whoosh whoosh whoosh. The cloud silkworm saint butterfly opened its mouth, and multicolored silk shot through the air and covered everything within a couple hundred yards. Arg, what? The two peak emperors that just launched their attacks instantly froze as a wave of multicolored silk wrapped around them. Cloud silkworm saint butterfly. How can this Zhao Feng control the cloud silkworm saint butterfly? Bai Kuang Yue and the purple-faced elder both quickly retreated, but their legs were still caught by some silk. Chapter 887, Deal with all of you at once. Wang tilde whoosh 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 whoosh. The multicolored silk that shot out from the cloud silkworm saint butterfly's mouth caught the two peak emperors off guard. Not good. It's the cloud silkworm saint butterfly. The middle-aged male and the youth in black armor were completely covered in silk. This silk was extremely tough and sticky, and it was hard to get out of even for emperors. In the blink of an eye, two peak emperors had turned into two multicolored sticky rice dumplings. Crack. Boom. Bai Kuang Yue and the elder with the purple face were also hit, but they unleashed their true yuan and managed to push the silk away. In reality, Zhao Feng didn't want to catch all four emperors at once because that would divide the silk's strength into four. His first step was just to capture these two peak emperors that were close to him, and he succeeded. Although the cloud silkworm saint butterfly isn't that strong personally, its supportive abilities sure are. Zhao Feng calmed down after the emperor's ambush failed. The pressure he had to face decreased dramatically after making two peak emperors lose all their battle power. This is quite troublesome. That brat can actually control the cloud silkworm saint butterfly. The retreating purple-faced elder's expression changed. He and Bai Kuang Yue were a little slow to attack, so they weren't ambushed by the cloud silkworm saint butterfly. There's no need to worry. Bai Kuang Yue's eyes landed on the two struggling sticky rice dumplings and messaged calmly, only the cloud silkworm saint butterfly's supportive abilities are strong. It won't be able to kill two peak emperors for quite some time. All we need to do is increase the pressure on Zhao Feng and the cloud silkworm saint butterfly, and the two elders will be able to escape. Hearing that, the purple-faced elder let out a breath. If one looked closely, the two multicolored sticky rice dumplings were radiating surges of power, and the sound of cracking came from the cloud silkworm saint butterfly. It was obvious that these two peak emperors were using their full power to try to escape. Within a breath's time. Crashy tilde. Cracks were already appearing on the surface of the two multicolored sticky rice dumplings, and the roars of two enraged peak emperors could be heard from within. The cloud silkworm saint butterfly isn't as strong as the legends say. It's supposed to be able to threaten sacred lords. The purple-faced elder roared as he charged at Zhao Feng. As long as he was able to put some more pressure on Zhao Feng, the two peak emperors would be able to break free. Bai Kuang Yue's eyebrows furrowed slightly. She was hesitant, but she still followed. She felt that something was amiss. The two peak emperors were struggling free much faster than expected. According to the legends, the cloud silkworm saint butterfly should be able to bind several emperors extremely easily. Apparently, this particular cloud silkworm saint butterfly had even participated in killing the mystic light realm beast. Maybe it was because this cloud silkworm saint butterfly was currently weak and couldn't use its full power? Ji tilde. The two emperors were about to break out. Kill. At the same instant, the purple-faced elder and Bai Kuang Yue charged toward Zhao Feng from the front and back. The hearts of the silver-haired elder and the other experts of the Duke's palace reached their throats. They couldn't help but sigh. Even if Zhao Feng could control the cloud silkworm saint butterfly, it seemed like it wasn't enough to stand against 5 peak emperors. Furthermore, the strongest demonic emperor Shwen Luo was about to arrive as well. At this critical moment, Zhao Feng's calm face became solemn. Victory or defeat depends on this. Zhao Feng suddenly waved his hand, and the cloud silkworm saint butterfly flapped its wings quickly. If one paid close attention, they would have realized that the cloud silkworm saint butterfly didn't even pay much attention to the two peak emperors after binding them. Zhao Feng also seemed like he was completely ignoring them. Hu tilde. At this moment, the cloud silkworm saint butterfly quickly flapped its wings, and a half-transparent multicolored pollen swept across a radius of several hundred yards. Watch out, it's the cloud silkworm saint butterfly's dream pollen. Bai Kuang Yue was wary during the whole approach, so her heart jumped as soon as the pollen swept over. The cloud silkworm saint butterfly's supportive abilities didn't consist of just silk. The pollen it gave off was also extremely unique. Who tilde? The purple-faced elder and Bai Kuang Yue were unable to evade, and they were enveloped by the pollen. Bai Kuang Yue had reacted a bit quicker, and she covered herself in crystal-like moonlight, including her eyes, nose, and other orifices. However, despite these measures, when the dream pollen arrived, Bai Kuang Yue's body started to become numb, and she instinctively didn't dare to approach further. Bai Kuang Yue didn't know that her hesitation from before and her pause now had changed her fate. Not good. The true Yuan in my body. The purple-faced elder at the front was directly hit by the dream pollen, and he received a huge blast of pollen. His body instantly became weak, and he lost control over his true Yuan and bloodline power. Fear and panic instantly appeared on his face. Being a peak emperor, his true Yuan wouldn't be completely uncontrollable as long as he tried his best, but his speed decreased dramatically. This dream pollen's unique ability can pass through the soul dimension and the physical dimension, and it's effective even against sacred lords. Zhao Feng faintly nodded his head with a smile. He obviously had several cards that gave him the confidence to face 5 peak emperors. At this moment, the power of the dream pollen caused the 2 peak emperors' strength to drop dramatically, especially for the purple-faced elder. He froze, and cold sweat started to appear on his forehead as he tried to resist the power of the dream pollen. He was currently unable to attack Zhao Feng. Crack. She tilde. Right at this instant, more and more cracks appeared in the 2 multicolored sticky rice dumplings. The heads of the 2 peak emperors inside could even be seen. These 2 peak emperors were about to break free. Their faces were green and filled with hatred. The moment they broke out, they would counterattack Zhao Feng furiously. Hope appeared in the eyes of Bai Kuang Yue and the purple-faced elder, who were both affected by the dream pollen. Hee, the moment you break out of your cocoon is the start of a new life. Zhao Feng smiled instead of being surprised. The youth's laughter caused Bai Kuang Yue's heart to become heavy. From the beginning, this purple-haired youth was confident and unfathomable, just as his information suggested. Shoo! Wang wang wang! Zhao Feng suddenly waved his hand, and the buzzing of bees sounded. That's? Bai Kuang Yue's heart shook as she saw 8 multicolored bees appear from Zhao Feng's arm. Each of these venomous bees radiated an aura comparable to kings. Some had even reached the peak tier king level, so they were extremely dangerous. 5 poison distinct bee kings, watch out tilde. Bai Kuang Yue seemed to recognize these bees, and her heart went cold. Unfortunately, her warning was too late. The 2 peak emperors struggled with all their might and managed to crawl half their bodies out of the sticky rice dumplings. However, the moment they saw the sun again was the beginning of their nightmare. Wang 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 shoo! 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 One of the peak emperors was stung by 4 blazing bee stingers. The 5 poison distinct bees weren't strong per se, but their suicidal attacks had the ability to kill those who were stronger than themselves since it required them to pay with their lives. In theory, each bee king had the ability to harm or kill an emperor. To make sure everything went smoothly, Zhao Feng unleashed 4 bee kings on each of the peak emperors as soon as they started crawling out. If he summoned the bees too early, they wouldn't be able to do anything since the cloud silkworm Saint Butterfly's silk was extremely tough. Even peak emperors had trouble damaging it, let alone some king-level bees. Shoo! Boom! Shoo! Boom! In an instant, the 2 peak emperors were each stung by 4 bee kings. They exploded into bits and pieces, and their flesh turned green. This scene completely shocked Bai Kuang Yue and the purple-faced elder. In the blink of an eye, 2 peak emperors were killed by 8 5 poison distinct bees. They didn't die from a fierce battle, but an ambush from some insects. The suicidal attacks of the 5 poison distinct bees are quite suitable for ambushing. If the target is ready for it, then the effect will decrease dramatically. Waves splashed in Zhao Feng's heart. The 2 that just died were both peak emperors. In a normal single combat situation, Zhao Feng would need at least 10 breaths to kill a peak emperor, and they both died in an instant. Dream pollen? Not good. 5 poison distinct bees. Right at this moment, the demonic emperor Shwen Luo arrived. Since he had to deal with the other emperors of the Duke's palace before he could proceed, he arrived a bit late. He saw the entire process of the 2 peak emperors being bound by the silk and the other 2 being ambushed by the dream pollen. By the time he arrived, the 2 peak emperors were suddenly killed by the suicidal attacks of the 5 poison distinct bees. All of this happened in the span of a couple breaths. Furthermore, this wasn't even the end. When the 8 5 poison distinct bees finished their job, Zhao Feng himself took action. Sacred lightning dominating body. Zhao Feng stepped out and became covered in golden blue lightning as he turned into the size of a small giant. In just one step, Zhao Feng had arrived next to the purple-faced elder, whose battle power had decreased dramatically. Boom. The late stages of the sacred lightning body's fifth level was like Mount Tai as it thundered down on the purple-faced elder. Wah. The purple-faced elder was already feeling weak and numb, and he instantly spat out a mouthful of blood like he was just hit by a giant hammer. Due to the dream pollen, his battle power decreased dramatically, and he wasn't able to circulate his true yuan or bloodline as well as before. Illusion Maze Domain. Zhao Feng released his Soul Dao domain when he punched out, making the purple-faced elder fall into despair. Stop tilde. Demonic Emperor Shwen Luo, who was currently a flaming demonic sovereign, charged over, but he wasn't able to make it in time. Bam. Crack. Zhao Feng's movements didn't stop at all. He shattered the purple-faced elder with one punch. Under the effects of the dream pollen and the illusion maze domain, the purple-faced elder wasn't able to defend at all, so he was instantly slain by Zhao Feng. Triple kill. In just a couple breaths, 3 peak emperors had been killed. Afterward, Zhao Feng glanced at Bai Kuang Yue. So, binding the 2 elders in silk was just bait. Zhao Feng's plan was to deal with all of us at once. Bai Kuang Yue took in a cold breath. Zhao Feng's ambush and bait were extremely smart. Everything was done in order to slay the 4 peak emperors that had arrived first, and he had successfully killed 3. At this instant, Bai Kuang Yue's body felt cold when Zhao Feng looked at her. She suddenly realized that she was also one of those 4 peak emperors. Perhaps Zhao Feng forgot about her? Meow. A streak of silver and gray flashed behind Bai Kuang Yue the moment Zhao Feng completed his own kill. Shoo. A shadow-like dagger stabbed into Bai Kuang Yue's back and caused blood to splatter. Chapter 888, Sacred Lightning Protection. Bai Kuang Yue's body froze as she looked at the smiling Zhao Feng. In the span of just a couple breaths, Zhao Feng had killed 3 peak emperors. After slaying the purple-faced elder, Bai Kuang Yue was also attacked. The material of the dagger that had stabbed into her back was extremely unique, and it contained a profound intent of the Tao of assassination. A numbing sensation passed throughout her body. In an instant, she was like a petrified beauty in the moonlight. She was frozen and unable to say a word. The little thieving cat's shadow kill imperial dagger had been upgraded in the Heaven's Legacy City and now had a numbing effect. At this moment, the process of Zhao Feng killing the other 3 peak emperors surfaced in Bai Kuang Yue's mind. In the first ambush, Zhao Feng had pretended to be extremely weak and managed to bind 2 peak emperors with silk. If the cloud silkworm Saint Butterfly used its full strength, the 2 peak emperors would have been stuck in there for a long. Even though the cloud silkworm Saint Butterfly wasn't at its peak, it could handle emperors. Zhao Feng then deliberately let the 2 peak emperors struggle and break out, which served as bait to lure in the other 2 peak emperors. In order to save the 2 peak emperors, Bai Kuang Yue and the purple-faced elder charged in together to pressure Zhao Feng, but the cloud silkworm Saint Butterfly unleashed its dream pollen to reduce their battle power. Zhao Feng then initiated the second ambush, and the purple-faced elder was directly slain. Since Bai Kuang Yue was ready to a certain degree and half a step behind the other emperor, she managed to survive. Shu tilde. Bai Kuang Yue managed to summon a layer of moonlight as the little thieving cat's shadow kill imperial dagger stabbed into her body. However, since her battle power had been reduced and the weapon was the shadow kill imperial dagger, she was still severely injured. Wang bam. Bai Kuang Yue groaned as waves of moonlight radiated from her body and pushed away the little thieving cat and the shadow kill imperial dagger. However, this injured her even more and made her sweat. Meow meow. The little thieving cat flipped in the air and landed on Zhao Feng's arm. You've done a good job. Zhao Feng put the little thieving cat into the misty spatial world with a wave of his hand. The little thieving cat didn't specialize in head-on fights, and the dark green-robed Bai Kuang Yue was rather wary at the moment. She may have been injured, but she was still a peak emperor. Zhao Feng's original aim was to kill at least 3 emperors before demonic Emperor Shwen Luo arrived. It would have been perfect if he had been able to slay all 4, but Zhao Feng had made plenty of preparations, so he would have killed 2 of them at the very least. At this instant, of the 4 peak emperors, 3 had been killed, and the 4th was injured and unable to use her full battle power. Brat, how dare you use such a shameless method to kill 3 elders of 9 Darkness Palace? The just arrived demonic Emperor Shwen Luo was stunned and let out a roar. Everything had happened far too quickly. The silver-haired elder and the other Void God realm experts of the Duke's Palace were completely dazed. In just a couple breaths, Zhao Feng had used several methods to slay 3 peak emperors and severely injure a 4th. At this instant, of the 5 peak emperors, only demonic Emperor Shwen Luo still had his complete battle power remaining. The strength of demonic Emperor Shwen Luo should be on the same level as the Emperor of Death, and perhaps even slightly stronger. Zhao Feng inspected this unparalleled emperor. To a certain degree, one could look at demonic Emperor Shwen Luo as someone with the battle power of a half-step sacred lord, but there was no such thing as that in terms of actual cultivation. The mystic light realm focused on the physical world and true Yuan. One either successfully transformed from a snake to a dragon or they didn't. In front of a tattered building, Zhao Feng and demonic Emperor Shwen Luo stood opposite from one another. There was only a couple dozen yards between them. The flaming demonic sovereign that was demonic Emperor Shwen Luo was more than 10 stories high, and a layer of flames behind his back blotted out half the sky. Only the disturbance of sacred power from the person trying to break through to the mystic light realm nearby could suppress demonic Emperor Shwen Luo. Zhao Feng was only a few meters tall even under the effect of the sacred lightning body, and he was a bit off demonic Emperor Shwen Luo's scorching demon spirit body in terms of fierceness and momentum. However, the advantage in size didn't give demonic Emperor Shwen Luo much confidence. His flaming body floated in the air, and he didn't dare to easily attack. Instead, wariness and cautiousness appeared in his eyes. Moments ago, he watched 3 peak emperors get killed by Zhao Feng's calculations. Who? The spectating void god realms within the Duke's Palace held their breath as their hearts started to thud. The purple-haired youth who they thought was at the disadvantage had quickly slain 3 peak emperors, severely injured the 4th, and was now facing the unrivaled demonic Emperor Shwen Luo, all with the cultivation of a king. Demonic Emperor Shwen Luo, do you dare to fight me? Zhao Feng suddenly spoke as the physical aura of his sacred lightning body started to rise. The progress of his sacred lightning body had been slow during the past couple months, but it suddenly ignited after facing such a strong foe. Indeed, after recovering the strength of his previous life, Zhao Feng hadn't sparred with such a strong opponent before. Lord Protector, don't drag out the fight for long. This Zhao Feng has a lot of techniques as well as the help of the cloud silkworm Saint Butterfly. There's also other emperors within the Duke's Palace. Bai Kuang Yue quickly messaged. She was injured right now, and her battle power was much lower. She was on guard against Zhao Feng at every moment. Right now, she was no longer considering how to kill Zhao Feng, she only cared about how she could escape, and the only way Bai Kuang Yue could escape was to charge out with demonic Emperor Shwen Luo. Retreat? I've never lost so utterly before. Demonic Emperor Shwen Luo's expression became grim. He was extremely strong and couldn't allow himself to lose against a mere youth so easily, even if that youth was the left-eyed heavenly emperor from the Kang Ocean. Even if he did end up retreating, he at least wanted to prove his fame and teach these people a lesson first. Do you dare to fight me? Zhao Feng roared as he circulated his sacred lightning body to the maximum and became even taller. Boom. A wave of light burst out from Zhao Feng as he punched toward demonic Emperor Shwen Luo with his full power. The speed and explosiveness of this attack made Bai Kuang Yue click her tongue. Even demonic Emperor Shwen Luo was caught off guard. No one would have thought that this youth was so strong. Humph. Demonic Emperor Shwen Luo's eyes became cold as a black ripple glowed around him. He didn't move forward or backward, he just stood there and took Zhao Feng's attack head-on with his demon spirit body. Crack. Boom. A loud explosion sounded as Zhao Feng's terrifying punch, which contained his physical strength and his Blood Devil Sun bloodline, shook demonic Emperor Shwen Luo's body. Hu tilde. A chaotic flame burned across demonic Emperor Shwen Luo's body and started to extend across his entire body. Demonic Emperor Shwen Luo's expression was grim as his own flames engulfed the Blood Devil Sun flames. The scorching demon spirit body he cultivated was formed from countless flames of darkness, and it was completely different from the Blood Devil Sun. However, he was disgusted when he realized that Zhao Feng's punch absorbed some of the energy in his body. Bam! Zhao Feng was pushed back by the black ripple from demonic Emperor Shwen Luo. An undying body. Zhao Feng looked at demonic Emperor Shwen Luo's body. There was originally a large hole there from his punch, but it was quickly healing. This meant that Zhao Feng's punch just now didn't actually threaten demonic Emperor Shwen Luo. On top of that, Zhao Feng found that his Blood Devil Sun bloodline was countered by the opponent's flames, and the lifesteal effect of his bloodline was weaker. Demonic Emperor Shwen Luo's demon spirit body is even stronger than the Emperor of Death's immortal death body. Zhao Feng's pupils contracted. The main reason the Emperor of Death lost to him in the past was because he specialized in soul and eye bloodline techniques, which were perfectly countered by the god's spiritual eye. Demonic Emperor Shwen Luo was much stronger than the Emperor of Death in a head-on fight. Kneel. Demonic Emperor Shwen Luo roared, and he waved his giant hand as the flames behind him became bigger. Shoo! An enormous hand passed through the air and crushed toward Zhao Feng alongside demonic flames. The power of this hand could shake heaven and earth, and its intent had also reached a high level. The space around Zhao Feng was locked onto by a certain power similar to the ability of the sky-locking bow. Unknowingly, the space around Zhao Feng started to erode under a dark flame. One had to admit that demonic Emperor Shwen Luo's skill, intent, body, and soul had all reached the limit of the Void God realm. In some respects, he had even stepped into the domain of the mystic light realm, especially in regard to his techniques. His mastery had reached an incredible level. Zhao Feng felt slightly troubled, which only happened when he met strong enemies. It wouldn't be too hard for him to defeat demonic Emperor Shwen Luo if he utilized the Cloud Silkworm Saint Butterfly or his eye bloodline or the God Tribulation Lightning. However, Zhao Feng wanted to fight with this famous expert of the Lord Dynasty. Sacred Lightning Protection. Zhao Feng merged the power of his wind lightning and his sacred lightning physical force together. An ancient barrier of lightning formed around him, it shone with golden light and gave off a thunderous hum. Boom. Bam. Wang tilde. The giant hand was blocked by the sacred lightning protection, causing explosions to sound. The sacred lightning protection then released a bright golden layer of lightning that pushed the giant hand away. A fusion of physical force and lightning? What kind of defensive secret technique is this? Demonic Emperor Shwen Luo's heart shook. His powerful blow did no damage to Zhao Feng and was even counterattacked by the sacred lightning protection. Bam. Boom boom tilde. Although the clash between Zhao Feng and demonic Emperor Shwen Luo was extremely condensed, holes filled the ground within a 1,000-yard radius of their fight. Chapter 889, Duke Ninfeng's Danger. Bam. Boom tilde. Zhao Feng and demonic Emperor Shwen Luo only fought within a radius of a couple dozen yards, but even the Duke's palace was shaking. If it wasn't for the fact that the Duke's palace was made of such high-quality materials and fortified by many arrays, it would have crumbled already. However, the hearts of all the experts within the Duke's palace still trembled as they carefully pulled away. The silver-haired Peak Emperor blocked the powerful shockwaves and protected the weaker people. Sacred Lightning Dominating Fist. Zhao Feng's sacred lightning body cracked as his fists released brilliant glows of light that shot into the sky. Hu tilde bam. Bam. Fists made of golden lightning were unleashed, and they were each the size of a blazing sun. This fist intent and this body strengthening technique are similar to the legendary Golden Kun sacred body. Holes started to appear on demonic Emperor Shwen Luo's demonic spirit body as explosions raged across his body. After using the sacred lightning dominating fist, Zhao Feng's punches contained more power and a superior intent that crushed everything in their path. At this moment in time, Zhao Feng's style of fighting was similar to the child demigod, and his mastery of the sacred body was even stronger. On top of that, Zhao Feng's sacred lightning body contained the element of lightning, and after being refined by the 5-elemental wind lightning technique, the lightning was very powerful. The biggest difference between Zhao Feng and the child demigod was the element and intent of the sacred lightning dominating fist. However, Zhao Feng also had the mutated Blood Devil Sun bloodline, which was extremely explosive and increased his battle power by an entire level or two. Crack. Crack. Boom. Boom. Zhao Feng's sacred lightning fist shot through the sky, and he seemed to transform into a god of war as he smashed through everything in his way. Even someone as strong as demonic Emperor Shwen Luo was pressured by Zhao Feng in an instant. Shockwaves formed where they clashed, ravaging across half of the Duke's palace. Scorching Sky Demonic Sword. A giant flaming sword started to form from the flames around demonic Emperor Shwen Luo as he decided to exit close combat against Zhao Feng. In terms of close combat, no one was the match of a body cultivator. Especially against Zhao Feng, whose sacred lightning body was even stronger than the famous Golden Kun sacred body. Wings of wind and lightning. A pair of giant wings formed behind Zhao Feng's back, and his speed and agility rose. Peng. Demonic Emperor Shwen Luo's flaming sword landed on Zhao Feng, but it was pushed aside by the golden fists. Ha! The wings behind Zhao Feng's back whistled and summoned a tornado of wind and lightning that charred everything in its path black. Hu Tiltaboom. Building after building within the Duke's palace was turned into ashes. Although Zhao Feng and Demonic Emperor Shwen Luo were both starting to fight in the air, once they both fought with their full strength, the force of their clashes was enough to destroy a two-star power. Zhao Feng, stop. The silver-haired emperor and company combined their strength to stop the shockwaves, but some of the arrays within the Duke's palace had already been ripped into shreds. Destruction was always easier than creation. All our information has underestimated Zhao Feng. Just how strong is the left-eyed heavenly emperor? Bai Yue's body turned cold as she bore the shockwaves. She wanted to run, but the cloud silkworm Saint Butterfly had locked onto her. Whoosh! Whoosh! Rings of silk shot out toward Bai Yue, and she was forced into desperation. There was the occasional ring of silk that landed on her as she tried to dodge, and by the time she pushed it away, more silk would land on her. The cloud silkworm Saint Butterfly's eyes were filled with pure playfulness. Without Zhao Feng's order, it was just going to play around, otherwise Bai Yue would have turned into a sticky rice dumpling already. Lord Protector, we won't be able to escape if we don't leave right now. Bai Yue quickly messaged. Meow meow. However, a sound appeared behind her that made her heart go cold. The little thieving cat had a playful expression as it took a dark golden chain from around its neck. Wang tilde shua. The dark golden chain turned into an agile golden dragon whip. The roar of a dragon could be heard. Every time this dark golden dragon snake whip was waved around, an invisible force appeared that could pressure true yuan and bloodlines, as if it was from a true dragon. This whip had been obtained from the golden skeleton in the ruined city of the divine illusion dimension. Nan Gongsheng's nose ring also came from the golden skeleton. The golden skeleton was at least a mystic light realm sacred lord when they were alive, and it was likely that they were on the cusp of becoming a demigod. Arg. Bai Yue's dark green robes were ripped apart by the attacks from both sides, revealing a pair of snow-white legs. Hu tilde. Bai Yue's legs felt hot as the little thieving cat's dark golden dragon snake whip wrapped around them. Her body froze as another wave of multicolored silk firmly tied around the lower half of her body. In just a breath or two, Bai Yue had turned into a cocoon-like sticky rice dumpling. Meow meow. The little thieving cat leapt onto the multicolored sticky rice ball as the whip turned into a thin chain and went back around its neck. Hoo pa. The cloud silkworm Saint Butterfly flew onto the little thieving cat's neck and nudged it with its chubby body. The combined force of these two spiritual pets had managed to capture a peak emperor alive. They then sat there and watched the battle between Zhao Feng and demonic Emperor Shwen Luo curiously. Not good. Bai Yue's been captured. Demonic Emperor Shwen Luo's heart went cold. Of the 5 peak emperors that originally came, there was only him left now. He was filled with regret, but there was nothing he could do at this point. At this moment, the silver-haired peak emperor couldn't stand the destruction that Zhao Feng and the demonic Emperor Shwen Luo were causing anymore and charged over. The addition of an extra peak emperor would definitely affect the battle. Furthermore, demonic Emperor Shwen Luo still had to watch out for the 2 cute, harmless-looking pets. These 2 spiritual pets had captured a peak emperor by just playing around, and this made demonic Emperor Shwen Luo's heart fall. Just Zhao Feng alone could fight against him, let alone Zhao Feng a bunch of other factors together. Today's battle ends here. Left-eyed Heavenly Emperor, I've tested your strength. Demonic Emperor Shwen Luo's expression was filled with hatred and unwillingness as he turned into a dark flaming cloud and flashed into the sky. What speed? Zhao Feng was faintly surprised. Demonic Emperor Shwen Luo's secret technique was probably close to the level of the Wind Lightning Emperor's inheritance. Although this fight was short, it used up a lot of Zhao Feng's energy. While he could fight against demonic Emperor Shwen Luo head-on in the short term, he would only become more and more tired as the fight went on. This was due to the difference in cultivation, mastery of skills, and strength. For example, although Zhao Feng's bloodline had a lifesteal effect, Demonic Emperor Shwen Luo's scorching demon spirit body had an undying attribute. The sacred lightning body will also have an undying attribute eventually, but that will take a long time. Only a small number of emperors with great fortune, talent, or a rare bloodline can fully cultivate the attribute of undying. Zhao Feng analyzed his weakness. Luckily, Zhao Feng had cultivated the sacred lightning protection, a secret technique that merged the wind lightning technique and the sacred lightning body together for defensive purposes. In a head-on exchange, even demonic Emperor Shwen Luo wouldn't be able to do anything to him, otherwise Zhao Feng would have been at a huge disadvantage in the battle just now. Of course, in a true life-or-death battle, Zhao Feng's chances of winning were higher. After all, he hadn't even truly used his speed or the god's spiritual eye. Little friend Zhao, if you keep on fighting, the Duke's palace will be destroyed. How will the Duke manage to break through then? The silver-haired Peak Emperor gave a bitter smile, and there were complex emotions in his eyes. If he had known that Zhao Feng was this strong, they wouldn't have lost a Void God Realm Emperor. Duke Ninfeng? Zhao Feng suddenly thought of something as he gazed at the purple and golden whirlpool in the sky above the Duke's palace. Wang tilde boom. The giant purple and golden whirlpool started to shake, and the purple glow that shone across heaven and earth faded. The aura that had almost reached the mystic light realm started to shake. Wait, something's wrong. Zhao Feng's expression changed dramatically. He suddenly realized that, because of the 5 Peak Emperors from 9 Darkness Palace, everyone had forgotten about something. The main protagonist in the Duke's palace right now was Duke Ninfeng, who was trying to break through. The silver-haired emperor and company, as well as Zhao Feng, were there to protect him. Assassin tilde. Protect my lord. A layer of darkness covered the area where Duke Ninfeng was in seclusion. Arg. Several kings around the secret chamber where Duke Ninfeng was in seclusion were cut into pieces by the darkness before they were able to get close. Kek. Duke Ninfeng, your breakthrough ends here, a cold voice resounded across the chamber. Duke Ninfeng sat within the chamber, and a sacred glow radiated around him. A male in darkness appeared behind him. Shoo. A sword similar to the Shadow Kill Imperial dagger appeared in the man's hand, and he stabbed it into Duke Ninfeng's back. Wah. Duke Ninfeng's body stiffened as he spat out a mouthful of blood, and his face became pale white. He turned around and glanced at the male in darkness with shock. There was a thin layer of dark scales on the male's surface. He had a slim figure, as if he had no bone structure. He was not a human. JJ, the experts in your palace exceeded my expectations. Without 9 Darkness Palace's interference, my mission to assassinate you wouldn't have proceeded so smoothly. The male in darkness pulled out the sword. Duke Ninfeng groaned as his body shook. Blood didn't come out from the injury on his body, instead, a disgusting and smelly black smoke started to appear. Chapter 890, Supreme Emperor Dark Knight. Quick, go help Duke Ninfeng. The silver-haired elder and company charged toward Duke Ninfeng's location with regret and panic. Due to the 5 Peak Emperors from 9 Darkness Palace, everyone had forgotten about the guy who was breaking through to the mystic light realm. They never would have thought that there would be an assassin other than demonic Emperor Shwen Luo of 9 Darkness Palace. There's not enough time. Zhao Feng's heart jumped when he saw the scene in the underground secret chamber with his left eye. At this moment, the mysterious male in darkness had already pulled out the sword from Duke Ninfeng's body, causing even more damage. Duke Ninfeng's injuries didn't bleed, a smelly black smoke appeared instead. It was obvious that the sword had a rare type of poison on it. Zhao Feng felt regretful and partially blamed himself. Duke Ninfeng had given the cloud silkworm Saint Butterfly to him to take care of, and it could have been a great help for Duke Ninfeng. The main reason why Duke Ninfeng had introduced the other 3 emperors to Zhao Feng was so that they could all protect the Duke's palace together in case any accidents happened. In normal situations, no one would dare to take action against Duke Ninfeng on the surface, and yet this had happened. In the underground chamber. You're the assassin ranked 29th in the black screen corner, Supreme Emperor Dark Knight. Duke Ninfeng's body swayed. His face was white as despair and bitterness filled his eyes. That's right. I'm Supreme Emperor Dark Knight, but I'm now ranked 25th. Half a month ago, I participated in assassinating a heavily injured sacred lord, so my rank has gone up. The male in darkness gave a confident smile. It was as if he already had victory in his grasp, and he gave an interested look toward Zhao Feng's direction after pulling out the sword. Zhao Feng felt a sense of coldness and danger in that gaze. Get the assassin. The silver-haired elder and the other emperor were the first to arrive at Duke Ninfeng's underground chamber, but an attack had already arrived before the two could do anything. Boom. A half-transparent dark purple eye flame and an aura of god tribulation lightning thundered toward Supreme Emperor Dark Knight. Arg. The male in darkness gave a scream as his body shattered. What a powerful eye bloodline technique. The silver-haired elder and company all took in a cold breath, and they couldn't help but look toward Zhao Feng, who hadn't even arrived yet. The eye flame just now exerted great pressure on the two emperors. Wind lightning eye flame. Zhao Feng's expression changed dramatically after using his eye bloodline. The sense of danger that Supreme Emperor Dark Knight gave him was even above demonic Emperor Shwen Luo's. How could he be killed so easily? Hu tilde Shua. A male with a pair of bat wings appeared in the sky far away from the Duke's palace. He was surrounded in darkness, and surprise appeared in his eyes. Supreme Emperor Dark Knight. The expressions of the silver-haired elder and other experts of the Duke's palace changed dramatically. Almost no one had seen how Supreme Emperor Dark Knight retreated or completed the attack. This Supreme Emperor Dark Knight cultivates the bloodline sacred technique 8-winged shadow doppelganger technique and can split himself into several bodies, each with 30 to 40% battle power of his original body. The one that has appeared right now might just be a doppelganger. Duke Ninfeng coughed as his face became even paler. It was obvious that he had heard of Supreme Emperor Dark Knight before. Zez, as expected of the left-eyed Heavenly Emperor of the Kang Ocean. However, you're also a target of the black screen corner. My next target might be you. Supreme Emperor Dark Knight looked playfully toward Zhao Feng as his wings flapped. Shoo! Whoosh! With a flash of darkness, the bat-winged male merged into the sky and disappeared. In terms of speed, Supreme Emperor Dark Knight wasn't much slower than Zhao Feng at his peak, and he was even more agile. What a terrifying assassin! What kind of existence is the black screen corner? Zhao Feng's expression became solemn. Although Supreme Emperor Dark Knight wasn't a mystic light realm sacred lord, his technique and bloodline had reached the limit of a peak emperor. He had the battle power of a quasi-sacred lord. There was also a suspicious point. Why did Supreme Emperor Dark Knight leave immediately after one attack without finishing off Duke Ninfeng? Being one of the top assassins of the black screen corner, Supreme Emperor Dark Knight always leaves after one blow. I'm thinking that his mission was only to stop me from breaking through to the mystic light realm, or else he wouldn't have left me alive. Duke Ninfeng sighed. My lord, are you okay? The other experts and guards of the Duke's palace arrived and blamed it on themselves. Zhao Feng looked at Duke Ninfeng's injuries, and his eyebrows locked together. It is very likely that I will die, so I'll need to settle my will now. Duke Ninfeng smiled bitterly as his aura became weaker and weaker. My lord. The hearts of those present shook as they revealed unwilling expressions. Duke Ninfeng's injuries were expanding and rotting. More and more black smoke rose from his body. Duke Ninfeng wasn't able to stop this poison even with his strength. I was stabbed by one of the 7 great inheritance weapons of the Tao of Assassination, the Sky Awakening Piercer. It contains the black fountain poison of Black Screen Corner. This poison takes effect extremely quickly, and no one below the mystic light realm is likely to suppress it unless they've cultivated an undying body or something similar, and even then, they'll only be able to live a little longer. Duke Ninfeng's aura of life was starting to fade away, and his gaze was starting to become empty. Zhao Feng inspected it with his god's spiritual eye and saw that the poison was eroding the soul as well as the physical body. Even Zhao Feng felt troubled against the black fountain poison. After all, he wasn't a doctor. The others didn't know what to know. There were doctors in the Duke's palace, but they wouldn't be able to do anything for Duke Ninfeng. Let me try something. Zhao Feng stood forward, and a cold pond that radiated a freezing intent could be faintly seen in his left eye. Eye of Ice Soul. Zhao Feng's left eye released a cold intent that covered and froze Duke Ninfeng's soul. Duke Ninfeng was still conscious, but he knew that Zhao Feng was helping him, so he didn't block it. Shu tilde. Duke Ninfeng's soul was soon covered by a cold intent, and the black fountain poison's erosion slowed dramatically. Zhao Feng's goal was very clear. He wanted to save Duke Ninfeng's soul. The soul was the basis of everything. Those that had reached the Void God realm could use their soul to take over another body or construct a new one with some treasures. Zhao Feng then started to analyze the black fountain poison within Duke Ninfeng's body. The black fountain poison was extremely unique, It was an item that existed between the physical dimension and the void. It didn't affect normal physical items or true yuan, but it was extremely lethal against life and souls. If one was poisoned by this, their physical body and soul would rot. To stop this erosion, Zhao Feng circulated his ice-water bloodline in the Ice Imperial Spear to seal Duke Ninfeng's body in ice. Cloud Silkworm Saint Butterfly. Duke Ninfeng managed to murmur before fainting. Zhao Feng understood. The Cloud Silkworm Saint Butterfly had many supportive abilities. Its pollen could be used to attack enemies, but it could also be used as an antidote for some poisons. The little thieving cat and the Cloud Silkworm Saint Butterfly soon arrived. Who tilde? Seeing that its owner was poisoned, the Cloud Silkworm Saint Butterfly immediately spat out a mouthful of pure white pollen over Duke Ninfeng. Zhao Feng immediately circulated his ice-water bloodline to let the white pollen merge into Duke Ninfeng's body and soul. Zhao Feng could feel that the poison in Duke Ninfeng's body was only becoming slightly weaker. It looked like the Cloud Silkworm Saint Butterfly could only delay Duke Ninfeng's death. Meow meow. The little thieving cat waved its paws at Zhao Feng. Zhao Feng seemed to understand and summoned more than a dozen 5 poison distinct bees from the misty spatial world. The 5 poison distinct bees could extract all kinds of pollen, including toxic pollen. Go. Zhao Feng waved his hand, and the dozens of elite bees started to extract the poison from Duke Ninfeng. A couple breaths later. Shu tilde. One of the 5 poison distinct bees turned into a puddle of black water and died after extracting for a while. It seems to be effective. Zhao Feng revealed a weird expression. The Cloud Silkworm Saint Butterfly and his ice seal could only delay the inevitable, but after the death of one of the 5 poison distinct bees, there seemed to be a bit less black fountain poison in Duke Ninfeng's body. The other bees on Duke Ninfeng's body died one after the other. In order to use their full potential, Zhao Feng even sent out a bee king to lead several elite bees onto Duke Ninfeng's body. Time passed by slowly, and the color of Duke Ninfeng's face became better with the death of each 5 poison distinct bee. It could be said that they were trading one life for another. Zhao Feng didn't expect that the 5 poison distinct bees could use their suicidal abilities here. Zhao Feng also seemed to remember something else, and he took out some white petals of a green water sky lotus from the misty spatial world. Wang Bo tilde. A common cool layer of white light surrounded the petal. Zhao Feng crushed it and squeezed out the juice as he gave it to Duke Ninfeng. Petal of the green water sky lotus? Duke Ninfeng revealed a joyful expression. He had heard of the green water sky lotus before. The petals of this lotus were useful for many things. They could cleanse the body and soul as well as increase one's state of existence. It also had the ability to get rid of poison. After drinking the juice, a faint layer of white light glittered within Duke Ninfeng's body and then covered his body like a blooming flower. Adding this with the 5 poisonous distinct bees' efforts, the black fountain poison was quickly removed. Who? Zhao Feng let out a breath. If Duke Ninfeng had died, he would have felt quite guilty. After all, he was the one that had attracted the 5 peak emperors from 9 Darkness Palace, and he had fought with demonic Emperor Shwen Luo for a long time. If this wasn't the case, then Supreme Emperor Dark Knight would have met a lot more resistance when taking action. Zhao Feng, thank you. You also need to watch out and be careful since you're also on Black Screen Corner's list. Duke Ninfeng looked at Zhao Feng, then sent him a private message with his divine sense, be careful. Supreme Emperor Dark Knight might come back once more and assassinate you while you're not on guard.